Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to Quest 3 Overview, and in Quest 3 is where we got a lot of good stuff set up. We have foundational material set, we figured out what tags were, we started building some documents, we started working with directory structure, so we got the basics all covered just on a once in a simple way. And I'm going to cover all of that in this video real simply, real quick. And I'm also going to give this presentation to you in Blackboard as a link, so you should find that right under this video in Blackboard if you're watching it. So what we need to do is just make sure we have all our foundational stuff set, because everything from this point forward we're going to start building on this. I'm going to start asking you to just build me web pages, and I'm going to expect you to just have this stuff ready to go. So if you have a file, a template, you save and you create for yourself, you can just make a copy of it, drag it out, finish up your lesson. And so this is the video that is going to show you all the things that you're going to need just to create that template, and all the things that we're going to be doing through the remainder of this class. So here we are. If you needed to create a website, the very first thing you're going to need is a plain text editor. So you're going to open up your plain text editor. That might be Text Wrangler, it might be FileZilla, it might be the new Drive notepad that we have in our Gmail accounts. So you get into that plain text editor, and you're going to create a file, and you're going to create it as a .html file, and you're going to save it right away into a folder. Okay? So we're going to talk about this folder and how important it is, but at this stage, what we really have is just a folder and a file in there. Okay? Really simple. This is a website. Just think of that folder as this holder for all the assets of the website, and there you go. You have one document in there right now that is the start of our website. So that is your index.html, and let's get into that in just a second here. So when we preview that file, that's one that we just saw in a folder, it's going to give our web page. Okay, we can do this locally. You can double click the file, you open it up in your browser, and you see what you got working. Okay, so let's take a look at what a real simple web page would truthfully look like. Alright, so you're going to have that root website folder. Okay, it's important to understand that the root of your website is going to be this directory right in this folder. And in that particular root, you're going to have various documents. So in this particular setup, I've created 3 simple things that you're going to need in your document to have a very simple website. Now, you don't necessarily need all 3 of these, but I think at a very bare minimum, these 3 are going to get you started on most websites that you'd ever need to create. So here we go, 3 documents. Number 1, the index file. Number 2, we have the style.css. And number 3, we have a folder that's going to hold images. Now, this is going to keep this directory really clean. You have just a few files in here, and then you have your images folder that's going to hold the information. Now, index file is really the only file that you need in this document to have a website. And you'll see that the index file has a .html after it. What happens is when you get to this directory, this root directory, when you're putting in a URL online or you're trying it right into your desktop, this index file is going to be the very first file that pops up out of that folder. Okay, so important to understand that index file needs to be the first name of every folder in a directory. Now, if let's say I wanted to index some of the files that I had in my images folder, it too could have an index file. We're not going to go that complex with this particular example, but we do have our index file, so we're going to take a look at that in a little bit closer. So if you take a look at the presentation, you really can stop and take a look at this a little bit more in depth. But once you take a look at your HTML file, this is really everything that you're going to need to lay out in an HTML file. At the very top, you're going to notice that we have the doc type, and that's the HTML5. So we're going to the HTML5, and that's how you have to write that out. And then we open our tag for HTML, and you'll see that at the top and the bottom. And then you're going to be able to really find your way down there by looking at the nested tags. And we have a lot of them in here. And I just wanted to point your attention to a few areas. First of all, let's take a look at the wrapper there. You see that wrapper tag? Okay, well, it's going to wrap the entire website up, and we can do some stuff with that wrapper. We're going to see that in just a moment. But right underneath that wrapper, you'll see an HTML comment. They are pretty common. You're going to want to throw those in your code to explain what you're doing, to remind yourself or remind somebody else in the future as to what you've done in that code. And then below that, you're going to have different tags and different things within those tags. Now, one thing you're going to notice is that we have the header in there, but you also have one that says ID equals content. Well, we're going to talk about that just in a second because we're going to be targeting that particular div there with CSS to give it some styles. Also, the one header and the one footer in the base, we can target those particular tags and give it a little bit more style. So if you want to catch up with where I'm at in this video, go ahead, get this document written up and set it up right now. Alright, so we have the document set up, but let's now get into our style sheet. Let's look at what styles are going to really make this work. So if we jump into the style sheet, you're going to see that we have a little bit different look into the code. You're going to have a tag is red, and that's going to encompass all the rules that you're going to have for that tag. So you see at the very top we have body. You're also going to have a wrapper, and it has that pound sign in, and that pound sign meaning that one is an ID. Now, an ID is only used once within a document, so you can only put that div and an ID equals wrapper once in the document. You can't put it on a whole bunch of tags. I do want to pay your attention all the way to the bottom. You'll see something that says .pickles, and we came up with that one in class. Well, the .pickles indicates that we have a class. So you can actually use that multiple times within the document. So you can put multiple divs with that particular class. So those are the three different ones you want to think about. You're going to have your tags that are in red there. You're going to have your IDs, and those are the ones that are in blue, and then you're going to have your classes. Those are the ones that are in green. Now, it might be different color schemes on whatever text editor you're using, but in this particular document, it breaks it down pretty well. Now, looking through this document, you can basically see what's going on here. You take a look at the wrapper. It says the width is 600 pixels, so that's going to indicate that the wrapper is going to be 600 pixels. But you also have your background color and your margins, and there's a whole bunch of different rules that are going to go into your HTML file that we just saw. Okay, so here we are at the images folder. So the images folder is going to hold different images that we're going to have in our site. Now, if we went back to the HTML just a few back here, you're going to see that we have an image that's linked in there, and you're going to see it right under the content. There it is. So it says images/image.jpg. Now that's important because when you look at this, you have that index file that's sitting right next to this images folder. So to look into the images folder, you do have to say images/ and then the JPEG that's inside of it. Okay, so we got that set up. Now let's look at the image that's in there. So we have an image in there, 72 DPI. We'll talk about that in class in the coming quest, but it's very important for the web because we don't need to go above the 72 DPI. And this one's at 250 by 250 pixels. Alright, so if we went to our web page and we hit F5 a few times to refresh, you're going to get your web page rendering. So this is what that particular HTML and CSS file is going to generate, also with the image in there. So, and you'll also notice right under the monitor that you're seeing on this computer right here is a URL. If you go to that URL, you'd be able to see this web page live. Alright, so we're doing all this work in our home right now. You got to think about this locally. So we've just been testing this website, creating it in our browser, and it's just on our computer. But what's really important is we want to share the things that we do on our website, so we need to put that on a server. So once we put that on a server, guess what happens? Everyone else outside of us can come and access that work that we've done. So you can work with it locally. You see that's our house on the left there. But then you want to put it on a server, and once that's on the server, we can share with everyone on the web. Okay, so we got the concept down. So we're at our house, we have our folder, we have our file, and we're doing our edits, and great, we have a website that's ready to go. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to go over to something called our FTP. So the FTP is going to allow us to take things from our local place, and it's going to send it off over to the place that's on the server. So you see, it's really important to understand that once you put it on the server, that's when everyone's going to have the ability to access it. So we're using FileZilla for that, and you'll notice the icon right here is just kind of the indication of what FileZilla does. It just transfers files from one place to another. So once we get into this filing system, you're going to want to make sure that your local files are the same as your server files. So I would really strongly suggest you get a jump drive or get one location where you can create those local files and start just working on your local files. And then once you're done, you're going to sync it with the server, and then everything's going to stay the same. So you can continue working on that local file and then continue pushing it to the website when you're ready. That's going to conclude this tutorial. I hope that helps out. If there's any questions, please put your questions in the forums. Email me, text me, call me, stop by my office, ask one of your classmates, Google it. There's plenty of ways to get help with HTML. All right, peace.